All right, moving on.
Yep.
So listing quality dashboard. This is one that you've heard a couple of the guys talk about, obviously, because we're a big fan of this report. It's a lot easier than it was before to fix things that are attributes. So the last report, the fix your products report, think of it as things that are prohibiting your item from either going live or being found. This is keeping, these are things that are an issue with your listing that could make it a lot better. So we can see that each item here has multiple improvements. View all 7 improvements, view all 2, all 5 improvements. And in some cases, in this case, it's a potential mismatch between the product name and the brand name. That's probably, inaccurate. It's just Amazon's algorithm thinking, a little confused because it's a licensed product. In other cases, select shirt form type. Well, if that item is not filled out, and let's say, I don't know exactly which this is referring to, but I believe it's something like, short sleeve, shirt or something like that. Is if someone searches for shirt or men's shirt or women's shirt or whatever, and then they filter on the left-hand, filters to refine their results, and you don't have a particular attribute filled in, you're out of the picture. You're not getting shown. So it's a big deal to make sure that all applicable filters are filled in. We also think it's important because if you don't fill it in, anybody, even if you're the brand owner, if there's a field that's blank and another seller contributes to that information, Amazon almost certainly will take it because it thinks that it's completing their catalog more completely. When in reality, they might do something wrong by mistake or potentially even harmful as a black hat tactic to attack you essentially and may make it look like you're in the wrong category or make your item harder to discover. You don't want to give anybody the opportunity to do that. So we always recommend you fill it in as strong as possible. And this report also has an edit in bulk feature that we're a big fan of because it allows you to quickly go and make mass edits across your catalog. Because as you can see, this one's got 40,000 things that they're calling out. Obviously, not all are accurate, but in here, address search suppression, 4,029. Review accuracy, 6,579. I mean, it's a lot to go through. If you can do it in bulk, and the same issue, like here, just in this example, these 4 items have the exact same issue. I could just simply drag a column, a cell from one row to another in an Excel spreadsheet. It'd be much faster.
And let me give you a really good example. Like in the apparel space, for example, several months ago, Amazon adjusted, like when you have different sizes, now Amazon added some attributes. And if there's sellers out there who sell apparel, they're going to be cringing right now because they probably remember all this. Or if you haven't touched your listing in a while, next time you go to update a template or do something, you're going to have to deal with it. But basically, we're familiar with Amazon grandfathering in, listing details. So when they make a change like this in the apparel, catalog, where, say, for example, extra large 2XL, 3XL size shirts or whatnot, now Amazon requires a little more detail there. Is it an adult? Is it a child item? There's extra attributes out there. And a lot of this is probably that. And Amazon's telling you that we like to have those attributes filled out. And this edit in bulk is a excellent way to do that because it literally highlights those fields for you and tells you what to do. It gives you the drop down. It's really, really makes it simple or, easier than a category listing report or a template report to do it. But what I wanted to call out is that, if you're not looking at this, you're not going to know this sometimes because, again, Amazon's going to grandfather your listing in. And Steve, like you said, if on the search tree, if those attributes are being called out over there to help people narrow down their searches and you don't have it filled out, you're not going to be in that search. Second thing, too, is I had an Amazon support, captive catalog support person. You were talking about people using black hat tactics. anybody can add an ASIN to their catalog. It doesn't matter whether it's your brand or not. They can add your ASIN to their catalog. And if you don't, and one of the things that the captive catalog person said to me, even on the apparel side, is make sure that you've got, as an example, the battery section filled out, because even if your apparel doesn't have anything like a battery needed, a third-party seller or a competitor can add your ACE to their catalog. And if you don't have that filled out, you're leaving it open to them putting in it that it requires a battery, and then leave other things blank. And then that can cause a problem for your listing, because just like pesticide or anything else, all of a sudden the algorithm, which is not a human person looking at it, sees that and flags your listing. And it could take hours, days, or weeks to get it fixed.
Yeah, good point. That's an interesting one. Yeah, the only other thing I'd add on the bulk, is you kind of touched on it. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't give you, in that report we just looked at, they some of the things they do so well, and then some of the other things you just have to shake your head. It's like, what were they thinking? So they give you all these zillions of data points, but they don't allow you to sort by sales, but they at least allow you to sort by page views. So, that's one way to prioritize. And then the other thing is, when you do that bulk report, as you said, Wes, you don't have to figure out what to put in every one of the fields. A lot of them have drop-down menus. They know what the product is, the category, and if it's a supplement and it's what says type, they'll give you whatever, the capsule or chewable or whatever. So it's really a lot easier than it might appear. And the other thing is, they give you a benefit. Every row has a benefit. And that's why how I often look at it is, if it says something about search, I'm going to focus on that. And then the other things are, then there'll be a ton of attributes, sizes and dimensions and things like that. And sometimes you just have to look at either the page on Amazon or look at a browse tree guide, but find the ones they're asking for that are in the browse tree guide that tells you they will be filters on the left-hand side. So, there are some pretty good sort of guided navigation in that report.
Yeah, it's really not that hard. This is just the edit in bulk screen. You generate the report, you upload the file, real simple. Just wanted to show it to you. But, one thing that I think everyone needs to understand is that completeness is an important factor, right? Amazon doesn't come out and say, hey, we prioritize items with the most completeness of content. We believe it to be true, though. We believe that the more complete your listing is, all the fields that are applicable, if you build them in, it's one metric that the Amazon algorithm is looking at when serving up their items. And we've seen it start to be shown by Amazon. So, for example, in the keyword search term field report, or search term field, Amazon says you have up to 249 characters, but what is it, guys? 224 characters or something. Amazon thinks if you've got that, if you've got that many characters in place, then it believes that it considers you complete. If you have less than that, it considers you incomplete, or something along those lines. Optimized versus not optimized, something to that degree. So it tells you that they do associate something with completeness. The next report, we don't have anything to show you, but I just want to explain what it is and how to pull it. It's called the category listing report, and it's one of the very first things that we pull every time we sign on a new client, and we know that there's going to be a lot of instruction on changes within their catalog, variation changes, content changes, etc. Amazon does not disclose this to you by default. You have to put in a case to have it added, or call them and ask them to add it, and just ask for the category listing report. It will then show up under inventory reports, which is under the inventory header, then inventory reports, and you'll see a pull down of things like the active listing report and so forth. It will show up right there in that pull down once you've requested it, but only for about 7 days. I've seen them add it for clients up to 30 days, if you make a special request to have it for longer, but for the most part, 7 days is their default. And you then have that ability to export everything that you've inputted into Amazon. Not an export of everything that Amazon has in their catalog for your ASIN, but everything that you have personally put into the catalog at Amazon. It allows you to export it out. And I believe the reason that they don't disclose this normally is it's super easy to just export this and then ingest the same content into eBay or Walmart or other competitors. So they don't want to make that terribly easy for you to do. In fact, most sellers, when we tell them about the category listing report, they have no idea that it exists. So we wanted to make sure everybody knows it does exist. It's basically a template. All it is a template file, a bulk template file to be able to add new products, already filled in, already put in the right parent-child variations based on how you've set it up today. And at that point, you can reorganize it and update content and so forth. If you haven't pulled it already, I would even pull it and look at it, because you'll see when you look through the catalog all the fields that are missing.
Yep. One important point to understand on this report is that, especially if you are using as example, if you are a reseller, the report is going to generate the way that you uploaded that information. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the information that is on the detail page. Now, if you're a brand owner, the two should match. It should, but it doesn't always. So don't assume that because you downloaded that category listing report and what your title says is what's on the page. I'm not saying that you should check every one back and forth, but if you do make a change, check to make sure that the change actually went through, because if you download the category listing report, it will show you the change you made, even if the change was never updated on the detail page.
And it'll sometimes say success. I think we've all gone to manage inventory and then edit listing, and we see under title, for example, you have what's in the form field, and then above that in gray is what's on the Amazon listing, and they can be different. And even if you're a brand owner or brand registry, it can still be different. So just because you upload that CLR file and it says successful doesn't mean that in 24 hours it's going to change that title. It just means that Amazon accepted and there was there were no errors in your field that you uploaded.
Correct.
Yeah, the other thing I would just comment about that report is, it's a great report, use it all the time. But whenever you're doing a update, meaning you're adding something new, you're adding a new ASIN to an existing variation, creating a new variation, whatever. But when you're doing, what's called an update versus a partial update, which is, I want to change my keywords or something, don't take the attitude of, oh, okay, well, everything's going to be in Amazon and I don't need to keep like 6 million files every time I create something because I'll just download a category report and I'll get it all. Because, for example, when you download it, they don't give you anything on image files. And so, if you don't keep the file that you originally created as products for, then you're going to be in a situation where it's like, oh, great, I've got this report, but I have no information on the images. Now I got to go to the edit product detail, and I can see the images there, but you're going to have limited ability to do something with that. So
I'm a big fan of saving every single time that you download a category listing report, saving it.
Yes,
and every single time, and every single time you upload a template, save it, and ideally not only save it, but also create a master file. So if you uploaded one new style, save that file and then copy those items out of it and put it in a master. So at any point in time, your catalog gets messed up or something, you've got a master file that you can quickly re-upload and fix everything that's changed, and then have a habit of not making changes in the web portal for your product listings. Only do it via those Excel templates, and then you will always have that safety net. It's a big help when things go wrong.
Right.
And I'll make this really fast, but I've had two different clients have some major issues with Amazon. One, all of a sudden brand names change. They actually, have 12 brand names registered, and all of a sudden a brand name changed for, several thousand products. And, Steve, having those listing reports saves the day. And then I had another client but so many of my clients go, it's just such a bandwidth drain to go, download those reports every 2 weeks, because then you have to do a case or a call in and have them enable it for me. And then I have to go wait, an hour and download it later, but it saved them so much time. I had one client that was dealing with Canada, getting Canada set up. All they did was enable their credit card on the Canadian seller account, and all their images changed on the US account. Now, I won't go into why or how, but the CLR file saved the day on that. It was a 30-second upload, and it took an hour to process and fixed. Yeah. So anyway,
setting that by the way, doing the case is like buying an insurance policy.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And what you just said,
your
Wes,
photos, do it for for Amazon.
What you just said about international stores now impacting other global international marketplaces, it's a big issue these days. And what we recommend you do is actually take your US catalog and ingest it into other markets. So let's say you're not yet into Canada or Mexico or whatever. Ingest it in there for now. And then you don't have to turn on those items. You don't have to make them live. Until you do so, you don't have all of the issues with taxation and everything else, but at least the catalog's in that local country. So
it's protected.
And if your brand registry, if you have brand registry, you've got level of protection in place that you are the one to contribute that content. Otherwise, it can be a wild west situation, and other people that make an international change to a product that matches the U.S., it's oftentimes causing issues and impacting the U.S. item.
And I'll say kind of the reverse of that too, of that if you are an international client, we have several international clients who've started out in Europe, make sure that as soon as you create that listing in the UK or Germany or wherever, create it in the US as well. Number one, the US is your biggest market. You may not be ready for it, but if somebody else takes your product and creates a listing in the US for it, it's going to cause a problem down the road.
It's smart.
So create it in the US. I have multiple clients who did not do that prior to them being clients of ours, and we're running into some very significant issues right now.